Welcome to InterPartyConflict, the podcast where we answer your questions so you can have the best tabletop gaming experience possible. My name is Gabe.
And my name is Jeff.
And we're going to answer your questions today. But first, hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Just kind of trying to survive the snow.
Oh my goodness, the snow.
Yeah.
The snow. People who live in the South, you are awesome, and where you live is awesome. Don't move to Michigan.
I don't know. They get more floods and stuff.
They have
hurricanes, Gabe.
That's true. When I moved to Tennessee, like 2 months after we moved there was the worst flood in Tennessee history or something.
Oh.
The river that was like a mile away from where we lived got so flooded that the park immediately behind our apartment, so I'm talking like 150 feet away from our back door, the water was so deep in parts that like a week later it was still like 10 feet submerged. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, so that's it's a little bit of a trade-off, I guess.
I suppose.
I don't know who has it worse, but I don't know. The snow's terrible. And driving is really bad.
Yeah, it's not just the snow. It's also just how cold it is. There was one day a couple weeks ago where it was actually really nice out. And so I took our dog up to the park and I went running with him at the park. And it was really, really nice. And I was like, maybe I'll do this again. I'll do this again tomorrow before I go to work. And then the next morning it was like icy and snowy.
Right, yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah, it's like in the teens or something.
Yeah.
It was like it'd be like 50 degrees one day and then the next day it's below 20.
Right. So there are a couple things I want to address. So the last 2 episodes have had some goofs.
Oh, yeah? What happened? What did we do?
I mean, nothing like world ending, but 2 episodes ago there was a point that there's just a little bit that I meant to cut out. Because I sometimes I'll be talking and then I'll lose my train of thought and then I'll go back and I'll cut it out when I'm editing. For some reason I didn't at first, and then there was like something I went back to do anyway, so I forgot to cut that out. And then last week's episode, at the very last minute before putting the episode up for upload, I had to go back and I had to like move something, and I didn't line up the audio tracks afterwards. So like when last week's episode first went out, everything after the Dragon's Horde, but before the ending music. Because that's the thing. Before I uploaded the episode, I listened to the beginning and I listened to the end to make sure that it was lined up, and it was.
Yeah, but it's everything in the middle.
Everything in the middle, exactly. So like there were a couple sound effects I said that came in like a minute before the prompt. And then the funeral pyre music started and ended before we actually got to the funeral pyre.
Oh, no.
And the thing is, normally I listen to these multiple times before the episode goes up, and then also I listen to them the first day that they're up.
Yeah.
Or I listen to them once they're up while I'm at work. But the last couple of weeks, my work schedule has been different, so I haven't had a lot of time around the time when the episode goes up. And also I haven't had as much time to listen to podcasts at work. So I haven't been able to like double and triple check them while I'm at work. So it was brought to my attention by Damien and Justin. So thank you to Damien and Justin, the most recent one at least.
Sure.
So I was able to get a new file up under the same link with corrected soundtracks.
Gotcha.
The 2 weeks ago I didn't even notice it until it was way too late, and it was such a small thing it didn't really matter. Nah. But as of this episode going out, I will be on my original work schedule again. Mm-hmm. So hopefully this will never happen again. Cut to a couple days from now and I'm listening to the episode and dang it, something else went wrong.
So during this whole explanation, there'll just be a bunch of like random dings and like music playing.
Farm sound effects for some reason.
Moo.
Yes. So anyway, I do apologize, everybody. I doubt anybody even cared.
The Gabe says, sorry.
Yes. The Gabe says, gobble, gobble, gobble. Another thing that I want to mention is that we, as of last week's episode going out, we also put out our first patron-only bonus episode.
Okay.
I know we sort of mentioned that we were going to, but we did put that episode out. That has gone out. This first episode is about our experiences with the game Dark Souls.
Yeah.
So if you like Dark Souls and you would like to hear us talk about it for an hour or so, maybe consider going over to our Patreon at patreon.com/InterPartyConflict. We use your donations to help make the show better.
Yes.
And it's doing pretty good. We've got a good amount of good amount of patrons so far.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm definitely pretty surprised. I'm not like I wasn't expecting it to be like completely a failure or anything like that. But
I suppose, yeah.
I was just it's a nice surprise. We appreciate all the support, everybody.
Yeah, it's really cool. All right, so Jeff, do you remember when we first started the podcast about a year ago when our Dragon's Horde intros weren't these big elaborate things?
Oh gosh,
it was just like you're in the dragon. You found the Dragon's Horde, and then I started being like, oh, let me make it a little bit more interesting. You find a map, and then you have to make a check or whatever. And it's just, now every week I'm like, oh, dang it, what am I going to do for the Dragon's Horde intro this week? And then, of course, it gets to, we're about to record, and then I'm like, okay, Jeff, hang on, give me 5 minutes to
come
figure
up with
out
something
exactly.
Yeah.
So this one, it's not going to be quite as short as our old ones used to be, but it'll be a bit simpler.
Okay.
So I want you to imagine that you are heading up to your local supermarket.
Mm-hmm.
You go inside. You take out your shopping list.
Yeah.
You've got milk, you've got eggs, you've got bread. It's snowing, so of course you've got to get milk, eggs, and bread.
Right.
That's what everybody has to get when it starts to snow. And then you've got
stock up on it.
so you've got milk, eggs, bread. You've got bacon. You've got treasure. You've got ice cream. You figure you've gotten most of those things, but then for that treasure, you head down to aisle 10, where the sign says the Dragon's Horde. All right, so our item for today was submitted by Preston via email. And this item is called the Orb of Vis, or Vis, V-I-S. Not sure how that should be pronounced.
I think it's Vis.
Vis.
But I don't know. Hard to say.
Okay. Well, according to Preston, Vis is the neutral evil god of memory.
Or could just be V too.
V.
I don't know.
I'll say Vis. I apologize, Preston. If maybe I'll go back and put up a new file or something if I'm incorrect.
Sure.
Anyways, in Preston's setting, people know of Vis, but worshippers are rare. To attune to this item, the PC must spend a long rest in meditation with the orb. While you are attuned, the PC must be, to some degree, a follower of Vis, up to DM discretion. During a long rest, an attuned PC can choose the orb to do one of the following effects before the following, so that lasts until the next long rest.
Okay.
First effect, as an action, the attuned PC can remove a simple memory from another creature it can see within 30 feet. Make a spell attack using Wisdom as your modifier. The attack must beat the passive con saving throw of the attacked creature. So if their Constitution saving throw is like +3, they have to hit a 13, I'm guessing.
Okay.
If the attack succeeds, then a simple memory of the DM's discretion is gone forever.
Ooh.
On a fail, the creature knows that something tried to do something, but is uncertain who or what. So they know that some sort of a mental effect just tried to assault them, but it failed. Twice per long rest, this is the second ability you can use. Twice per long rest as a bonus action, an attuned PC can look into a creature's mind. At the DM's discretion, you can look at a simple memory that may help you learn about the history of the creature, or you may choose to learn one attribute of the creature. At DM's choice, you can learn one of the following: its AC, hit points, resistance, immunity, or the type of creature it is, fey, fiend, undead, etc. So this item either lets you erase a memory from a target, or you can use it to, I guess, sort of like look at one of its memories, basically to let you learn something about its history.
Sure.
Or you can learn some of its game statistics.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So like identifies the creature in some way.
Yes. I think a while back we had an item that dealt with memory that I think Chris submitted.
Yeah.
With it was like a spell book. I think that you can like put memories in, or it steals memories or something.
Yeah, something like that.
I could look it up, but I'm not going to. So this is a kind of a similar thing that you can erase a memory in somebody, because I think in that episode we talked about how creepy it is to like screw with someone's memory.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. That's
And so with this item, I think it's also neat that this can be used to learn game statistics. So like you can learn what its AC is.
Sure.
That's kind of neat. There's there's not a lot in the game that lets you do stuff like that.
Right, yeah. That kind of reminds me of the one magic item we had that was like the sword that like
King Killa?
Yeah, the King Killa.
Yes.
Yeah. It's pronounced like chinchilla.
Yes.
King Killa. It had something what you just identified the strongest enemy
Yeah,
or something like that?
just identified whoever the strongest
Or whoever had the highest level or
strongest
something.
creature was,
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of neat where it, but it's got a good flavor to it where you're looking into their mind and it's not like the number 16 AC pops above their head. It's like you see into their mind and their memory of like buying the armor that they're wearing or something like that. And like the shop or the armorer who gave it to them is like describing it to them or something like that. And you're like, oh, okay. And so your character has knowledge of their armor, therefore their armor class, and you as a player know the number.
Yeah, sure.
So I mean, we don't know. We know what it looks like, but we don't know for sure if that's leather armor or studded leather. But here's this memory of them shopping. Hey, can I buy that studded leather, please?
They're at the supermarket.
Sure, yeah, they're at the supermarket. That's aisle 8 is armor.
Yep.
Aisle 9 weapons. Aisle 10 dragon's horde.
Yes. Funny idea. What if their AC did pop up over their head? I mean, only you could see it.
Sure.
Maybe. But that actually reminds me of, this is going to be a weird tangent, but there's a Ryan Reynolds movie called The Nines.
Okay.
Have you seen that movie?
Wait, no, I'm thinking of something else completely. What am I thinking of?
I don't know.
Go on with the Nines though.
So in this movie, it's a weird movie. We have a mutual friend named Jamie.
Oh yeah. It's a Jamie.
It's a Jamie movie. He showed us this movie, and whenever Jamie brings a movie, it's going to be a good movie.
Right.
It's going to be a good movie you've never heard of, and that nobody else has ever heard of.
Yeah.
But in this movie, it's kind of weird. It follows Ryan Reynolds kind of playing a few different characters, like each in a different storyline. So it starts off with Ryan Reynolds. He's like this, I don't know, celebrity sports player who like gets put on house arrest because he like burned down his girlfriend's house or something like that. Huh. And then there's another storyline where he plays this like movie producer who's trying to get this movie made. And then it goes to this other guy where he's like this guy backpacking across the country or something. But there's a point where in one of the story where Ryan Reynolds is this movie producer, someone comes to him and says this weird cryptic statement about like, you're not like the rest of them. You're a 9. They're all like 5s and 6s and you're a 9.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
He the whole time, this whole segment of the movie, he's talking to the camera. It's sort of like a documentary. That one section of the movie is. And then after this thing gets said to him, he starts saying something to the camera, and then somebody near him is like, who are you talking to? And then the camera changes to be like no longer documentary view. It's no longer like a first person view. And it sort of shows him looking around, and he realizes like, he doesn't know who he's been talking to. He hasn't been talking to anybody. And then he looks around at all the people, and everybody has a number over their head. And it's all like, oh, this person's like a 3. That person's like a 6. This person's a 7. Then he looks up above his head. He has a 9 over his head. And this does not have anything to do with physical attraction.
Sure.
It's this weird like meta thing in that his character is, I don't even know if I should try to explain it or if I should spoil it.
Right.
I guess nobody's ever going to watch this movie. I'll spoil it. Basically, it turns out that like he is sort of like a god imagine if you were a player, or if you were a player in like a giant VR MMO. And if you're a player and all the NPCs are just NPCs, he has this 9 because he is not an NPC like everybody else.
Right.
And that's why it's going back and forth between him as different characters. Mm-hmm. It is the same person playing these different characters. But I don't know. I don't know if any of this is making any sense.
I mean, it sounds like the numbers are sort of like how much of an influence you are on the world or something like that.
Kind of, yeah. And then like if there was a 10, it would be like a literal god or something.
Gotcha.
He's a 9, he's not a 10.
Right.
Anyway, that's not what this is about.
Sure.
That just got me thinking with the numbers over their head. What if there was an item that let you see what enemies' ACs were floating over their head?
Right, or like an NPC had an object that let them see whether or not they were against a player character.
Oh, there you go.
So like an NPC was like aware of the fact that they were fighting, or they were like, it's like an orc in a cave has this item that's like, oh, those are player characters. We need to get out of here. Like,
Yeah.
This is not going to end well at all.
Right.
They have magic items. It's terrible.
This makes me think there's another tangent. I will try to keep this one short. There's a webcomic called Earthworld.
Oh, yeah,
I think it's at earthworld.com, erfworld.com.
Yeah.
And that is, the idea is that it's a story about this like fantasy world that is very, very gamey. Like the fantasy world has game rules, and this kingdom is in, like, they're about to get destroyed. They have a bunch of money they're going to spend on this really powerful spell to summon the perfect warlord that will help them win this war. And so they summon in an actual player from the real world who is making a strategy game very similar to the situation that's happening. He gets summoned into, I don't know, I haven't read it in a while. I don't know if it has come out whether he is in the world he was making or not, or if it's just something similar. But basically, he gets summoned into a game world. And so he has to use his knowledge of, like, how games work in order to win this war. And there's even a point where, like, because it's so gamey, he gets a magic item that are these 3D glasses he puts on that when he looks at a character, he can see their stats.
Okay, yeah.
And there's even a point where, like, he realizes there's things he can't do because the game won't let him. And there's a point at the end of the first story arc where he realizes that the game is trying to exert its influence on him, and he rebels against it, saying, I'm not a game piece, I'm a player. And then he swears at the game, because up till that point he hasn't been able to swear because the game hasn't let him. But anyway, it's a very, very cool moment. Very early in the story. It's been going on for years and years, so I very much recommend everybody check it out. Anyway,
turns out, like, it's gone way off the rails, and
it probably has, to be perfectly honest.
It's like, why did Gabe recommend this? This is crazy.
Now it's become a courtroom drama about police officers. It's become Too Many Cooks somehow. Anyway, so I think that'll do it for the Orb of Vis. I think that's a neat item.
Yeah, for sure.
Being able to destroy someone's memories is kind of horrifying.
Yeah, it's scary, but yeah, it's powerful, and
then being able to look into somebody's memories just on itself is really cool, and then also to be able to gain game knowledge is really cool too. So that'll do it for the Dragon's Hoard. If anybody wanted to submit magic items for us to discuss, or if they want to submit questions for us to discuss, or stories for the funeral pyre, how would they do so?
They could send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com.
Yes. And now we also are going to take a moment and do a giveaway. We're going to give away some cool stuff. We have a game module from Goblin Stone. We have the game module Chapel on the Cliffs.
Yeah.
So we've said in previous episodes, if you want to be entered into this drawing, we're going to do one every episode. And all you have to do is send us an email at the email Jeff just mentioned, interpartyconflict@gmail.com. Send us an email with Chapel on the Cliffs in the subject line.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah. The content of the email could be whatever you want.
Whatever you want. You can send us some questions. You can just tell us, hey. You can tell us we're doing a terrible job.
Or a link to, like, a cat video or something like that.
There you go. I would actually recommend rat videos.
Oh, rat videos.
There is an amazing video of some rats playing basketball that I will put in the show notes. Just because. Have I showed you that video?
I don't know, but
it's pretty good. I'll show it to you later. Anyway,
okay.
But so we have a lucky winner today. Our lucky winner is John G.
John G.
Yes,
John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt.
John Jacob.
John. Yeah.
So another, because this is, I guess, the movie tangent episode. That makes me think of the movie Memento.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen? Are you familiar with the movie?
A little bit, yeah. It's been a while since I've seen it.
It's a movie where that follows Guy Ritchie. He plays this cop or ex-cop or something, but he has no, he's not a cop. Whatever he is, he has short-term memory loss. And so he can't remember anything. Like, up until a certain point in his life, something happened to him. He was attacked by an intruder in his house, and since that point, he cannot remember anything more than like a few minutes old. And when I first saw the description of this movie, I was like, how in the world are they going to get that across in the movie? The way they do it, they show you the movie in reverse order.
Yeah, Memento was a really big, like, thing. Like, people talked about it a lot because it was like, oh, it's a movie in reverse. And then so a lot of movies started using that.
Right.
Not necessarily like the whole movie, but they would sort of like they'd show the payoff before they'd show the setup.
Exactly. So you'll see an effect happen before you know the cause.
Right.
And then once that scene ends, it'll go back and show you the cause. And so, like, for example, there's a point where the main character, he goes into this bar, or he's in a bar. The bartender comes over and hands him a drink. He's like, oh, thanks. He takes a drink. And then, like, everybody in the bar starts laughing. And he's like, oh, that's weird. I wonder what that is. The scene goes on. Then the next scene starts. It's him walking into the bar. He explains to the bartender that he has short-term memory loss. And then the bartender takes a drink and has everyone in the bar spit in it. And then the scene ends. Then meaning that the following scene happened immediately afterwards. He forgot about it and he drank it, whatever. But the reason that I think of this when I see the name John G is because all that he knows is that his wife was killed during this intruder attack. His wife was killed by a man named John G.
Uh-oh.
He only knows that because he has tattooed it on his body. He has tattoos on his body of like, your name is this. Your wife was killed by this. Like, don't trust anyone is what it says.
Sure.
And he carries around these like Polaroids, and he has like written notes on the Polaroid. So like the motel he's staying in, he has a photo of the motel, and he has like, you're in room whatever. And anyway, so John G, the whole movie, he's on the trail of a John G. And so anyway,
gotcha. Well, congratulations, John G.
Yes, congratulations, John G. Hopefully you didn't kill anybody's wife.
Right, not the murderer,
not
John
the
G.
murderer, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, so congratulations. And again, if anybody wants to enter that drawing, just send us an email with Chapel on the Cliffs in the subject line.
Yes.
And then we'll get into questions in just a moment. But one more thing. I want to tell everybody to check out Crit Academy, critacademy.com. Great podcast with Justin, Ian, and Brandon is now back. So great guys. They make a great podcast. They always have new and reusable content for you. Also, D&D Character Lab. You can check them out. They're another great podcast. They make characters and pit them against each other. So a lot of fun. A lot of fun coming at you.
Go and check them out.
All right, Jeff, you want to get into some questions?
All right, cool. Sounds good. All right, first question comes from Justin Lund on Reddit. And they ask, I have a player who is incredibly busy all the time. Is it wrong to just play without him?
Yeah. This is probably going to, I think there's a pretty simple answer to this, but it's going to depend, the group is going to probably play it differently.
Yeah.
Now in general, I would say, yeah, it's not wrong. It's fine to go ahead and play with somebody that's not there.
Right.
Everybody has their own schedule. Everybody is trying to make it to the game. If somebody can't make it, that's fine. But if everybody else is there, you don't want to tell everybody else, sorry, we can't play because of this one person. Right,
yeah. Especially if it's more of a short notice sort of thing.
Right.
But in this case, it's like if they're busy all the time, then, they kind of have to that player has to kind of understand that, like, well, the game's going to have to go without you at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, like I don't see it as a big issue. Now I'm sure like situation to situation it'd be different, or if the rest of the group does not want to play without him, that's different. That's a different story. Maybe you guys do something else in that session.
Absolutely. That's a great option. If you don't want to play without a certain person, or maybe there's a couple people that can't show up, have a backup. Yeah. Have like you could play board games, or you could have like a different campaign that you play with just the people that are there.
I feel like I think we must have suggested this at one point, because
I think we did.
We talked about something like this before, and like you have a secondary campaign where you're playing as like NPCs in the major campaign.
I think Justin recommended that.
Yeah. Actually, okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, because that's sort of that's a cool idea. It's just we'll have a backup if anything, watch a movie or something.
Sure.
It's good to be like spending time with your group even when you're not playing is still a good idea. Like you're able to, if you're not already like best friends or anything like that, you become better friends maybe, or at the very least you learn more about those people and have a better time role playing with them. So
Sure.
Any excuse to hang out with people, I guess.
Yeah. Here's another idea. Like you might, there's a lot of role playing games out there other than just D&D, some of which are incredibly simple. Mm-hmm. I can't remember if I mentioned it on a previous episode or if I just told you about it, Jeff, but I listened to an episode of the One Shot podcast, which it's a podcast where they it's an actual play podcast, but they play all sorts of different systems. And they had one session where they were playing a game called the Terrible RPG, Tearable.
Okay. Oh yeah.
The idea being that you have the only rules is that you have a sheet of paper that you write out up to 6 skills. You choose what the skills are. They can be literally any skill that you can think of. Anything that you think might be useful. And then whenever a conflict arises and you have to decide, you have to figure out whether you can achieve something, you tear off part of your sheet that has at least one letter of the skill you're trying to use. And then there's, in the rules, it's a 1-page rule thing. There's a little like 1-inch by 1-inch square in the center. And as long as the piece you have torn off can at least cover that square, you succeed.
Okay.
The limit being you can't make every single check you can't attempt every single thing that comes up, because eventually you're not going to have any more of your sheet, or you might just not have any more of that skill.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's all about the creativity of the players, the creativity of the person running the game, but it's just such a simple game.
Yeah.
There's like tiny other little rules, like if you ever want to make like a last ditch effort, you can just crumple up your entire sheet and you have to throw it and hit the GM. If you can hit the GM, you automatically succeed at what you're trying to do, but then you're out of the game or something.
Okay.
It's ridiculous, but it's just such a simple game. And it's like, hey, maybe if not everybody shows up to your session, maybe just play a goofy little game like that takes literally 5 minutes to learn how to play.
Sure. Now, do the teared pieces, they have to contain the entire letter, or does it have to be just part of a letter?
It has to be at least one full letter.
One full letter, okay.
So like if, I don't know, I haven't seen any pictures of how people
I wonder if there's
write out their character sheets, but like I imagine you would probably want a skill that has a lot of letters in it, number one, and then maybe just have it be like really broadly drawn out over the whole sheet.
Yeah.
And that way every time you tear, you're actually getting several skills worth of stuff, but like it's like the last letter on each skill, and then the second to last letter on each skill, and so on. That's kind of how I picture it.
Yeah. That's interesting. Or like, like is it just an 8x11 sheet?
I guess, yeah.
Paper? Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool though. That's fun.
There is a rule that you have to keep your fingers in the same spot once you start tearing. So you can't like tear a little bit and then turn the sheet and then tear off a square. It basically has to be a strip.
You can't, right? Okay, I got you. So like you can't like kind of pinch your way down. And,
right.
You have to commit to the whole.
Pretty much, yeah. And then like if it ever isn't able to cover the square, somebody else has to tear off a thing as well, and they have to use theirs too.
Right. So they have to like assist.
Exactly. Yeah.
So again, then there's the 1-page RPGs.
Yes. I mean, there's a lot of people that make 1-page RPGs, but Grant and Chris, I think Chris has a big part in those too, from Hardy Dice Friends, who we had on our podcast like 15 episodes. It was a while ago. Yeah. A lot longer ago than it feels like. They make 1-page RPGs all the time, and a lot of them are free. Some of them you can get by donating to their Patreon. There are so many other, if you want to role play but you don't want to play in your normal game for a reason like this, there are so many other options for you.
A lot of options.
But there are other very, very simple RPGs, many of which are free, that you could take that opportunity to branch into something that is completely different than what you're used to doing, just to try and broaden your horizons, maybe get some more creativity flowing, anything like that. You might not necessarily want to play the game, but you might want to like brainstorm for future sessions.
Sure. Maybe
say, okay, what are some adventures you guys would want to go on in the future? If we can't play this week, what's some stuff you would want to do next week, and so on. You might just take the opportunity to sit around and make characters.
Yeah.
Many times we would just get all of our buddies together and just make characters for a while.
Yeah. I mean, we usually had the intent of playing a campaign, but
that's true.
But that would never work out that way. But in the very least, we had a good time. We sat around and had a good time making characters, so that can be fun. Yeah.
There have been games that I've run in the past where I have said to players like, well, because the question must be asked, if you're running an experience point based game, how do you deal with someone who's not there?
Sure.
I've been running campaigns in the past where I've said, like, if you're not there, you don't get experience. I think that's a fairly understandable point of view. However, I had a player bring it up to me like, I understand that, but I am on call with my job. Sometimes I might not be able to make it. I don't want to be penalized because life happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and I can understand that too.
Yeah, you play the rest of the game behind everybody, and like you're going to be less powerful. You can do less. You're just going to have less fun because you weren't able to make it that day.
Right. So. And I mean, the argument can be made, I guess, that there's more to playing the game than advancing your characters, more to playing than getting experience, whatever. But like, if you want to do something with your character that's in the future, you are being set back because of something that you had not necessarily any control over.
Right.
And it just comes down to, what's the harm in letting someone get experience even when they're not there? Will the other players feel cheated because they have an additional high-level character in their group?
Right.
Maybe some players would feel like they are more entitled to experience than the other person. But like the argument goes, there's more to there's more to playing the game than getting experience. So if you are playing at the session, you are already benefiting more than the person that isn't there, because you are hopefully having fun at the game.
Right. Yeah.
You also might be getting treasure. You might be making more connections with your character. There's so much more rewards than just experience that I feel like I feel like people should not have the attitude of, I should be getting more experience because I'm here.
Sure. I mean, you're going to get first dibs on treasure.
Absolutely.
That's a big thing. Like, it's like, well, okay, he's not here. We'll just give him the whatever.
Right.
We'll give him the alchemy jug. He likes mayonnaise.
He likes to act like he's peeing.
Sure.
Now, like, I can understand someone feeling otherwise, but I'm just saying, like, at the end of the day, it's about having fun. What harm is it going to do to not have to worry about, oh, well, who was here this session? How much experience did we get? Who was here this session? How much experience did they get? Just having everybody on an even playing field, it just makes the game just go by easier in my experience. So just don't worry about that, guys. Just let it be.
Yeah. You're already dealing with the fact that you're out a player,
Right.
Don't add more to it.
Yeah, like, no, I'm sure nobody is like, oh man, I get to not be at D&D today, but I still get the experience.
Right, yeah.
I'm sure they would rather be at D&D than not.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not like paying somebody to play their MMO account or something like that.
Right.
Like, it's like, oh yeah, just play my character and get me up to level 50, and it's like, no, they want to play the game.
They call up their boss. I really want the experience for this session, but I just don't want to be at the session. Can you call me into work? Can you come make me work a double?
That's what PTO's for.
Exactly.
Yes. D&D PTO.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Is that player time off?
Yeah.
So, if I don't think it's wrong at all to just play without a player that isn't there. Now, if there is something that they are like, if there's part of the story that they are really vital to, if the story is all about they need to get this one player character into this mine to put his blood on a door to open it up because it's tied to his family line or whatever, maybe do something else until that player is there, or maybe do like another game or another storyline or something. But in general, just play without them.
Yeah.
Maybe run it by them beforehand just to make sure they won't be upset.
Right,
but players don't be upset if the rest of the group goes on without you.
Right, exactly. Like,
everybody understand. Like, everybody has a life. Things happen. Let the rest of the group go on without you, and group go on without the other player.
Yeah,
you'll all get through it. I guarantee you.
Yeah, and I mean, if the group doesn't normally have a hard time like getting together and stuff like that, then maybe it wouldn't be like the worst thing in the world to like skip that week or something like that.
Maybe,
but
yeah.
In most cases, people have trouble scheduling things. So like, yes, this one person can't make it, but if they maybe two people can't make it, the next week. So like, you gotta play when you can. So you gotta, obviously you want as many people there that want to be there as possible, but you got to play when you have the chance.
I can't remember if we mentioned this last time we talked about this sort of thing, but like, it might be a good idea to just have a rule in place for, if we are down this many players,
sure,
we either won't play or we will play something else.
Yeah. Just be like, if you're out, if you're down two people, that might be a problem. Whereas one person, they wouldn't mind it.
Yeah.
Okay. Our next question comes from Merciful Hacker. Please don't hack my computer. Maybe even be merciful. Sorry.
Okay. Keep going, Jeff.
Oh no, I got more of these. No, okay. This was on Reddit. How can a GM keep up their health? Have you ever run a game where you were sick or exhausted?
Yeah, I'll just say a blanket statement. If you are sick, don't be in close quarters with other people because you will likely get them sick.
Right, exactly. Yeah, like in general, like if you're sick with something that is contagious, just don't be the player that doesn't show up, or the GM. In the GM's case, like you might just have to cancel that week, and heck, those players might have other things they can be doing, or they might get together and play a one pager or something like that.
There you go.
One of the players might also be a GM at sometimes, and so maybe they'll run another campaign.
Exactly. Yeah. So if the GM is not able to make it because they're sick or exhausted, so yeah, don't be around other people if you're sick. That being said, I have done that on occasion. It happens. But so if the GM can't be there, it usually means the game isn't going to go as planned. Like you can't just play the same game without the GM, generally speaking.
Right.
With most RPGs, if there's a GM, you can't play without the GM.
Right.
So this, I think, is a better opportunity for if the rest of the players still want to get together, especially if they don't play at the GM's house. If they play at somebody else's house.
Right, yeah.
Then that would be a great opportunity for the rest of the group to do something else that's fun and role-playing related. The rest of the group might try, one of them, like you said, might try being a GM for a little bit. They might try like, hey, let's sit around and make characters, or like let's come up with some cool stuff our characters want to do. There's less stuff you can do that's like actually in the game, but because you have all the players there's still tons of stuff you can do.
Right, yeah. And then anything that happens during that, you can always write down or bring up to the GM later. It's like, hey, we came up with this cool idea, or hey, my character and this guy's character decided we're gonna do this. Just keep everything in mind if it is something that's related to that campaign.
Sure.
But I mean, but as far as GM being exhausted and stuff, if you're just too tired, your heart's not going to be into it.
Yeah.
It's not going to be as fun for everybody,
It sucks to have to cancel a game, but if you're not at the top of your game, if you're exhausted, if you're not feeling well, like you said, Jeff, you're not going to be a great DM because of it. So it might be better just to cancel the game and then be better prepared next time when you're feeling better.
Yeah.
So that you can do a good game and keep everybody entertained.
Unless you're like me, where when you get tired, you kind of get loopy and you start you start talking real goofy and I sometimes I'll when I get tired, I just kind of start to go out of it, but I don't know, I'll get real giggly or something like that. So, so if everybody's there tired, it might be a fun time. You might not get a lot done, but you might at least have a good time. Sick. Sometimes I get the groggy voice.
Sure.
And it sounds good sometimes.
It makes your voice sound better. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You get
you're suddenly singing bass.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's that episode of Friends where Phoebe gets sick and
I don't know if I've seen that one.
Well, she's singing at the coffee shop or whatever, but she's got the flu or something, so she's got a real groggy voice, and so she's like, oh, it sounds so much better. So she's singing all these really low songs. Songs about sticky shoes.
If you do play while you're sick, that's some prime time to experiment with some character voices.
Right? Yeah.
If it sounds really bad, you can be like, oh, sorry, I'm sick. That's why it sounds so bad.
Right. Sure. So I mean, but again, don't put other people's health at risk.
Yeah.
But it could just be maybe it was them that got you sick or something.
Maybe then you got to pay them back. You gave me the flu, I'm going to give you the mutated flu.
I'm gonna give your character a curse.
Yes. Just general, as a person who has worked for combined 12 or 13 years in both the health field and the food industry, I can say the best way to keep from getting sick is wash your hands.
Yeah.
Wash your hands and then wash them again. If you are washing your hands, but you have not taken a food or health class or job, you are probably not washing your hands well enough.
Right. Yeah.
You should scrub your hands. You get your hands wet, If you put soap on your hands without your hands being wet, you might as well not even be using soap.
Sure.
So get your hands wet, put soap on your hands, scrub your hands with soap for about, I think it's 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Hum Happy Birthday.
I think it's you hum it twice, don't you?
I don't know. I was only told to do it once.
Oh, okay.
It couldn't hurt to do it twice.
Right, I guess it depends on the speed in which you sing Happy Birthday.
I suppose, yeah. So hum, sing, or whistle Happy Birthday once or twice. It's up to you.
So, my fiance Skylar would say you have to sing Happy Birthday to Boris.
Okay.
Happy birthday to Boris.
Gotcha.
I don't. It's a reference to something I can't remember, but I think it's Larry David is the character or something like that. But she showed me a scene where he's washing his hands and singing Happy Birthday to Boris, and I'm like, what is this?
Oh, and I should probably mention Happy Birthday is in public domain.
Oh yeah, now it is now. So now restaurants don't get to come up with those crazy birthday songs.
Yes, I've actually heard that. It's actually been in public domain for a very, very long time. And the people who sued people over using it were actually scam artists that were able to scam like millions of dollars.
Sure, that is a thing. Yeah.
I guess I'm just spreading gossip. I don't know, but that's what I.
No, there is a thing
heard.
about. Yeah, there is some. I forget what the term is, but there is some sort of like lawsuit thing. I can't remember.
I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, just wash your hands. Really good.
Mm-hmm.
If you sneeze, don't sneeze on your hands. I've never sneezed on, like, my entire life. I sneeze like into the crook of my arm or something.
You do the vampire, the Dracula. You pull the cape over your face.
Yes. Just don't do it.
I think that most like I'll do like the back of the arm,
sure,
like back of your forearm, that sort of thing, and then
I mean that's better than your hands because you're not touching stuff with the back of your forearm.
Right. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do something about it, but at the very least I'm not going to be getting it all over everything.
Yeah, so wash your hands a lot. If you're going to sneeze or cough or something, don't do it on your hands. If you do, wash your hands afterwards.
Don't put your dice in your mouth.
That's a good point. If you're one of those people that puts your dice in your mouth, don't do it.
Don't do that. You spread diseases.
Yeah. And if don't put somebody else's dice in your mouth too.
Yeah, that's a message for everybody.
Yes.
Don't put other people's dice in your mouth.
All right. Yeah. So just be safe, be clean, wash your hands, and
take precautions.
Yeah.
Don't get other people sick because then you'll have people missing the next session.
Yeah.
And
Heck,
things like that.
Play a game over Skype or Roll20.
Or Roll20. Yeah.
Yes. So just do something like that. And don't put anybody else at risk. And if your GM can't be there, guys, just still get together and still do something fun.
Right? Yeah. You already you got the day. You set up the schedule anyway. You might as well do something. All right. Our next question comes from RPG Throwaway 123. I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot from them. This was on Reddit. How do you deal with a DM who plays favorites? And
yes.
Gabe, you said there was a story behind this
There
one?
is a bit of a story behind this one. I'll try my best to sum this up. RPG Throwaway 123. I apologize if I do a bad job of summing this up. But basically, so this player was saying that they feel a bit neglected by their DM. They were playing in this game. It wasn't D&D. I think it was Exalted. They just survived this really cool battle. After the really cool battle, they were basically gifted a big magical ship that the DM or the GM then gave to one of the other players. Now, I'll refer to RPG Throwaway 123 as player 1, and then the other player is player 2, just for simplicity. So player 2 was gifted this ship because I guess player 2 was like the only person in the party that was able to understand the weird language that the control panel was in or something like that. And so the player 2 now has a magical ship that he's a captain of.
Right.
Player 1 is a little bit upset because number 1, they feel like player 2 doesn't really engage in the game very much.
Sure.
The DM created his character. Player 2 is absent half the time. Player 2 hasn't taken the time to learn all the basic rules. He doesn't even really know like his character's abilities because
sure.
he didn't make the character. I guess according to his message, the only thing that the player 2 did make up was the name, and I guess the name is based on a meme or something like that.
Huh.
Meanwhile, player 1 spends a lot of time out of game coming up with backstory and character motivation and like does stuff with their character and other characters, like getting the other characters involved, giving the DM plot hooks to use.
Sure.
Doing all these like cool abilities, doing all this, engaging with the game, engaging with the system, engaging with the NPCs. And so player 1 just kind of feels like player 2 is being, the DM's playing favorites with player 2.
Now, the thing that sticks out the most to me in the story is the DM made the character, and like the player 2 doesn't show up as often, so it feels like the DM is playing a DM PC in a way,
kind of, maybe.
So like that might be part of the reason why it seems like he's playing favorites, because like he kind of like had to put all this work into the character, and now he's trying to get the most use out of it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now, I mean, there's kind of a lot to it, because number one, I suppose there is the question of whether or not this is a matter of playing favorites or not. I suppose the argument could be made that it's not really. The argument could be made that maybe player 2 is just kind of like a friend that isn't really crazy about the game, but the DM wants to have their friend along.
Sure.
I've been in that situation before. We have a mutual friend, John, who he played with us in Jay's Eberron campaign. He also played with us in a campaign before that I ran, I believe. And he didn't necessarily he knew like the basics of the rules, but he didn't really like spend a lot of time learning what his character could or couldn't do. He didn't like have a plan for his character or anything. He was basically just there because he was our friend, and you know, we feel like hanging out, and having him there was still a net positive.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. John's a great guy.
Yeah. So it could be that the DM might be using this player 2 as a way to further the campaign, because player 2 isn't super involved. The DM might be using player 2, like you were saying, kind of as a DMPC, maybe more as an NPC that is sometimes controlled by a player.
Right.
And also, like, this magical ship kind of sounds like a plot device more than anything else.
Right.
That player isn't necessarily going to be doing anything cool. It's just going to be like, okay, you guys need to travel. You're going to use this magic ship rather than
right.
walk.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not something they're going to like write on their character sheet. You know,
yeah.
It's not like, even though they're the one captaining it, it's not necessarily like it's the groups, because that's what you're going to use it for.
Right. And also, like, I would say getting rewards in game isn't all the rewards that you're getting as a player. If you're the player that is giving the DM plot hooks and engaging in the story and engaging in the NPCs and everything, like, that's kind of the fun of the game, isn't it?
Sure.
Like, when I play that's why I don't engage in the game so that the DM will then reward me for it with I don't know, with magic items and money and stuff.
Yeah.
I engage in the game because the game isn't really fun otherwise.
Sure.
I'm not trying to say that this person should or shouldn't have the same goals as me, but I mean, like, try not to, if you view treasure as rewards for being a good player, then of course it's going to feel like someone's getting played favorites when they don't, when they get an equal amount of treasure.
Yeah. I was going to say, I'm more on the side of like treating like treasures and stuff like rewards, but I guess it's not necessarily like, I'm not feeling like I'm being rewarded as a player. I'm just like, it's more just like an excitement sort of thing. Like, getting this stuff is exciting. But yeah, the overall reward is just playing the game. But like, you know, being able to add that new piece of armor or something to my character sheet, that's a definitely fun and rewarding experience.
Yeah. Let me put it this way.
Okay.
If I put something in my character backstory that the DM uses as a plot hook, and like now my character has like an NPC rival that I'm constantly running into.
Sure.
That is a far greater reward than any magic item the DM could get me.
Sure. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I guess magic items are a reward, but you shouldn't dislike if someone else plays the game, like engages in the game less, and they also get magic items. Don't act like they should be getting less fun out of the game because they didn't do as much. Don't judge other people's play styles. If someone else isn't, you are not inherently more worthy of reward than another player who engages less. You should engage in the game, absolutely, and the DM should reward you for that. But if they reward someone else, don't get upset about it.
Yeah.
Like, you're all there to play the game. It's not about getting the most stuff. It's not about getting, you know, I don't know. I'm not sure if my point is even coming across, but like, I don't know, whether or not this is favorites, like, I mean, that's a separate issue.
Sure.
And I guess just in general, try not to judge other people for being less involved in the game as you. Just try to worry about you having a good time. Don't worry about whether someone else is deserving of a good time.
Yeah.
If you're at the gaming table, you're deserving of a good time.
Yeah, because this couldn't be favorites. This might not be favorites. This might be like more of like pity,
maybe.
Which in that case is like probably, maybe, possibly negatively affecting player 2's experience because they feel like they're, I don't know, like when you get like the pity rewards in games and stuff like that. It's
I
like,
suppose
you feel bad. You might, and that might excite you to get more involved, or you might just feel like, oh, okay, I'm winning because they feel sorry for me or something like that. So that, it could be something different.
Yeah. And as a DM, if you have a player that isn't engaging very much, it's not out of the question for you to try and give that player incentives to be more involved in the game. Right. You can't fault the DM for giving a less involved player something like a ship that is surely going to get that character or the player involved more in the game.
Right, yeah.
So it might not be necessarily favorites. It might be that the DM is trying to elicit a response from that player, and the player may not be giving them a lot to go off of. Anyway. But so whether or not this is favorites, that's not really the question. I took from this, what do you do when a DM plays favorites?
Sure.
I've been in games where the DM plays favorites. I hope I haven't myself play favorites. If I do, I don't think it's ever been to the point where nobody ever brought it up to me, I guess. So if this happens, if you are in a game where you feel like the DM is playing favorites, I mean, it's easier said than done, but hey, talk to the DM about it. Mm-hmm. Say, I kind of feel like you're playing favorites with this player.
Sure.
One thing that this is sort of along the same subject. I've been in groups where DMs play anti-favorites, where like let's say the DM's significant other is playing, they might purposely give that player less attention in the hopes of not playing favorites. Does that make sense?
Right, I got you. Yeah, in order to, because in that situation, people would assume that they would play favorites, so that they're doing the opposite to kind of quell that. So like,
right.
But then it comes off as like, you're picking on that player or something.
Kind of, yeah, it can. So try talking to your DM in private, of course, not like in the middle of the game. You're playing favorites. So talk to the DM and say, hey, you probably don't mean this, but it feels sometimes like you are, like you're playing favorites with this. And if you are going to bring up the topic of playing favorites with another player, or if you're going to bring it up with a DM, that DM is playing favorites with another player, have examples. Don't just be like, I feel like you're giving them too much attention. You should be like, when this happened, you did this. When this other thing happened, you did this. Just because these sort of things are going to be largely subjective. So if all you show up with is, I feel like you're playing favorites, it's very likely the person you're going to talk to, whether intentional or not, might just think, I don't see that at all. I didn't intend that, and thus it didn't happen. It's very likely that if they are playing favorites, that it's unintentional. So if you are going to bring it to someone's attention, bring examples.
Yeah.
So that you can say, like, this felt like it, this felt like it. And like, these are why I feel the way that I do. It's not just that I want to be succeeding on more roles. It's not because of this other personal issue. It's because of this, this, and this.
Right. And be tactful with it. Don't be aggressive when you bring these things up.
Definitely.
Because, I mean, depending on the person, and not everybody's, not everybody's the same. But like when you approach somebody with something like this, and like you're pointing out their flaws, and if somebody's like self-conscious or like they have low self-esteem or anything like that, that can be that to them. That's gonna feel like an attack.
Definitely.
And they can sometimes like double down on it, and like, okay, they're gonna play favorites even more, or they might play anti-favorite to you, and like and like make your experience worse or something like that. So, and I mean, like, and that's not necessarily your fault. Like, just because you brought it up, and then they reacted that way, that's not your fault. You were trying to make the experience better for everybody, because I'm sure there's other people in the party who don't like the fact that the GM's playing favorites. So nobody likes having, like you said, nobody likes having their faults pointed out to them. Yeah,
but that doesn't mean that their faults don't need to be changed. So like, you feel free to bring it up, but yeah, don't try not to make it sound like you're accusing them, and be prepared for them to not want to accept it at first.
Sure.
You know, I do that. Everybody has stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, bring it up to the DM. I mean, to an extent, I would say try to figure out whether it is a deal breaker or not. And it might be worth just letting it be. Mm-hmm. Especially if it is that they're playing favorites with a player that isn't really engaging very much. You don't know the whole story. It might be that the other player, they just don't really know how to role play. Mm-hmm. And they'll learn eventually.
Yeah.
You can lead by example. I think we've said that in the past about how to get players to role play more.
Sure.
So try not to judge everybody just by what it looks like. Maybe err on the side of, just letting everybody be, I guess. If it is truly a deal breaker, then say something about it.
Then bring it up.
But if you bring it up and then it doesn't change, reevaluate whether it's a deal breaker or not.
Right, yeah.
If it is, leave the group. If it's not, just put up with it.
Yeah.
Especially among friends, it is hard to get people to change their ways.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, harder to stand up to your friends than it is your enemies or whatever.
I also feel like it's sometimes it's harder to take criticism from your friends too.
Yeah, that's true, because that's somebody that you've, been around longer, so they're more aware of your mistakes and stuff like that, and when you know somebody for a really long time and then they point out a mistake, you wonder okay, how long have I been making that mistake and how long have you not told it to me?
Yeah, exactly.
That sort of thing. It's like when you got something stuck in your teeth and then you've been out with your friends all day and you get home and you see the thing in your teeth, you're like, how come nobody told me?
Yeah.
There's a piece of spinach or whatever.
There's a British comedy duo called Mitchell and Webb. Mm-hmm. I don't think they've done anything in a few years, but they had a TV show. They did a couple movies, and they had this it was a sketch comedy show, but then they did an audio version of the sketch comedy show. And there's one of the sketches they did where this guy is he's at his job for a work evaluation. He's been working at the firm for 30 years or whatever. And his boss tells him okay, this is embarrassing, but I have to tell you, you have a little bit of ham above your lip. And he's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, no, I don't. And he rubs it. He's like, oh, I do have a little bit of ham. And he's like, yeah, it's been there for a long time. It's been there for 30 years and nobody said anything. And he's like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? He's like, is that why I lost that case? Yeah, it's because of the ham.
Oh God.
Yes. Yeah. So anything like this, it's kind of a delicate issue. Try to be tactful, but at the same time, talk to the person that it's going. Don't go behind the DM's back. Don't talk to another player and be like, the DM's favoring player number 2. What's that about?
Yeah.
Don't spread gossip. Just go talk to them. They're probably not doing it on purpose. And if you mention it, it's likely that they will work on it.
Sure.
That's really the best you can hope for.
It's at the very least going to be on their mind. And, even if they don't take it well at first, they might eventually be like, you know what? Yeah, right. I'm okay.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just be friendly, be aware of everybody else at the table. Try not to take anything personally, and try not to say something in a way that someone else will take it personally. Okay, well, I think that'll do it for our questions today.
Okay.
Now I want you to take a deep breath. What was that? Are you sick, Jeff?
Oh, I should I?
Oh no,
I shouldn't have come today. I know.
Don't put your dice in your mouth.
Stop putting your dice in your mouth.
So take your dice out of your mouth. And put a log on the funeral pyre. All right, so our funeral pyre story for today was submitted by Matthew on Facebook. And he says, got eaten by a magical house that was somehow resistant to fire and lightning damage because, wood doesn't burn easily. Also, the house has a strength score of 30.
What?
And then I will bleep this out, but he ends the message with, still hate my DM for that bullshit.
It almost made me choke on my dice.
Yeah, so...
that's ridiculous.
Okay, general piece of advice, everybody. Don't get eaten by a house.
Sure. Good advice for everyone. Isn't Isn't there a magical beast or something that is a house with legs? Or
well, there is Baba Yaga's hut.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yes, there's also the Dread Gazebo.
The Dread Gazebo.
Are you not familiar with that?
I'm not sure.
I'll have to find it between now and next episode. I'll just show it to you.
All right, so watch out for houses that will eat you.
Yes.
Fetch me a tool shed, for I am hungry.
Yes. All right. So let us raise a glass in memory of this this adventurer whose body is now hidden in the crawl space.
Maybe, I don't know.
Clink.
Clink. What is the anatomy of a house?
Who knows? I don't know. That would be a good Dragon Magazine article.
Anatomy of a house.
All right. Well, that'll do it for today. To submit questions for us to discuss, items for the Dragon's Hoard, or stories for the funeral pyre, please email us at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. For show notes, a running list of questions asked, and important links, go to interpartyconflict.com. I said a while ago I was going to be trying to make us a dedicated website. Still working on it, but it's probably going to be a little while, so I do apologize, everybody. I'm so busy right now, and I am so bad at making stuff look good.
No one blames you, Gabe, except for everyone.
I guess if anybody has any tips on making a website look good,
sure, yeah,
then send us an email. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/interpartyconflict, or our subreddit at reddit.com/r/interpartyconflict, where I post weekly discussion questions for you. We're also on Twitter at InPartyConflict. We're also on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, YouTube, anywhere you download podcasts. Please rate, review, subscribe, or just tell a friend. We have a Patreon at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. If you want to head over there and check out what rewards we have, we've got a few different tiers. Even just $1 a month will go a long way towards making the podcast better. Also, you get some bonus stuff out of it.
Yeah.
Why not? Jeff, do you want to tell us about FriendQuest?
FriendQuest is our YouTube channel where we play video games. Gabe just showed me Enter the Gungeon.
Yes, Enter the Gungeon's great game.
And so I was thinking maybe we could do that at some point.
We could, because it's co-op.
Yeah. I mean...
Oh, my goodness.
Because we could still record it at my place, because you can do like the share account thing or something.
Oh, okay, yeah. And I have it on Steam.
Perfect. So yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, maybe we'll do that at some point when we got time for it.
When we got time. It's time is the limiting factor here.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, and if you go to bit.ly/interpartyconflict, you can take a short survey that if you answer some questions about the show, about what you like, what you don't like, and so on, you get 2 free board games, courtesy of Tom and Mary over at hollandspiel.com. Also, we have our giveaway for Chapel on the Cliffs from Goblinstone. All you have to do is send us an email with Chapel on the Cliffs in the subject line. And our music is made by Boxcat Games from Nameless the Hacker's RPG. So, Jeff, until next time.
Every time you say the music, my face goes white, and I'm like, crap, I have to come up with an outro. So... have a good night.
There you go.